and attention. She's doing something over there, reading or something. Yeah. Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Arzu.
Hi Arzu.
So, in high school, DreamWorks came out with their big blockbuster hit, How to Train Your Dragon. Now I remember convincing my best friend at the time, we were both 16, summer of before junior year, that we had to go see How to Train Your Dragon on the first day it came out in theaters. And man, am I glad I did, because it was more than a children's film for me. It was very relatable. So today, I'm going to tell you how to Train Your Dragon relates to my life through the themes of individuality and self-exploration. It moved me and made me feel emotional, resentful, and ashamed, all in one children's film about dragons and Vikings. Critic Michael Meyer Bolton called this film a terrific piece of storytelling, and I couldn't agree more. The first way the film moved me is when Hiccup talks about his name. He says that his parents gave him an ugly name to scare off gnomes and trolls, and I remember it made me feel ashamed of how I felt about my name growing up. Even today, it still gets butchered by professors and teachers that I have. And being the first name on the roll call list, it was always, I'm sorry, but I'm really bad at names and I'm going to butcher the name, when I knew they were only referring to my name. And I wish to have a name like Amy or Sarah, something that people could pronounce first round, just like how Hiccup didn't like his name. The second way the film moved me is when Hiccup is resentful towards the village because they all think he's not capable of killing dragons. And it's the same way that I felt resentful towards girls on my tennis team because they said that I wasn't good enough. And so it promoted me to train harder, just like Hiccup had to train harder at beating dragons. And so the resentment I felt was because people telling you no, that you can't do it, and you had to prove them wrong. And that's what I did, just like how Hiccup does it during the film. The third way that the film moved me is when Hiccup's dad finds Hiccup inside of Toothless, the dragon's arms, and he thinks that Hiccup's dead. And it made me feel really emotional because it reminded me of when my best friend decided to tell me, very casually and nonchalant, that she had been diagnosed with a brain tumor. And I was the first one she was telling, and she thought it was, completely great lunchtime conversation to have. And it made me feel really emotional because I always think back to those hard conversations you had. But fortunately, just like the film, when Hiccup finds out that when Hiccup's dad finds out that Hiccup is alive and well, it was just like how my friend at least told me that she's going to get treatment and radiation and tell her parents about the cancer. So that is how this children's film, How to Train Your Dragon, has moved me personally. There should be no doubt in this room that such a simple children's film has such great themes of self-discovery, making something good out of a bad situation, and self-exploration. Because Hiccup might just be like a Viking 16-year-old, but I think it's someone we can all relate to, even in our 20s and as adults in this college world. Like Bolton said, it's a terrific piece of storytelling because it reaches really great transversal themes that other films don't, other adult films fail to address. So, call me a child, but this film had me emotional, ashamed, and resentful. A film that's supposed to address 7-year-old concerns of wanting to ride dragons. So, thank you.
Thank you. 3:49. Thank you for respectfully waiting outside. Let's start over here. Yeah, why not? Oh, you wanted to start? Okay, we'll start over here today. The skateboard girl.
Just like the movie.
Start with your name.
My name is Sojin.
Hi, Sojin.
So I thought, just like the movie moved you, your speech has the power to move the audience. And I really liked how you relate your personal experience to the emotions you got from the movie. You elaborate on your, the feelings got from the movie really well. So.
Improvement.
This one's hard. You did a great job. our stance more, because sometimes when you're like moving 3 times was good, but I think more like once you move, kind of like make sure you stand still.
That's good advice. Thank you for that. You started with sort of a memory lane, walk down memory lane of your best friend and the excitement of How to Train Your Dragon and wanting to go there on the first day, so that was good. I wish you had, and I guess you tied back to that in the end with How to Train Your Dragon, so that was fine. Your thesis preview was fine. Your integrating of your quote was fine from your critic was good. The only thing I asked from all of you, it's too late for Arazu, but remember to say whether you agree or disagree with your critic. Saying, I agree it's a great piece of storytelling, or I disagree it's not a great. You said a terrific piece of storytelling. Do you say I agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so do that. Make sure that's in there. And then your first emotion, you talked about the frustration of people mispronouncing your name, and I would like you to have returned to the emotion at the end of that, and that's why I feel frustrated. On the second emotion that you were trying to communicate, which was the tennis team problems and trying to prove yourself, that was a good story. It could have been longer. You were only 3:49, so you had about a minute, 15 seconds, so you could have told us more about the dynamics of the tennis team. You were whatever, and brought more into that. On the third story that you told, that was a real dilly. When someone casually says, "Oh, by the way, I have brain cancer," you kind of freak out. At least I would. And I had a close friend that did tell me he had brain tumor, and it was very scary. On the one thing I would recommend was that if you wanted to, you left us hanging as to how she's doing today and how it all came out and that sort of thing. And that's something when you leave a story open like that, you don't want to leave your audience hanging so much. It's like solve all the plot strings that you introduce. Did it just stop? No. That was your phone. Okay, your summary, your conclusion, and your tie back were all good. Your reference was good. Your 3 goals were to make a good tie back, to communicate emotions to your audience, and be lively. How'd it go?
Good. Thought it went well.
Yeah, just a little short. Okay, but other than that, you did a nice job. At least you weren't overtime. That was good. Thank you. What?
You want the film review?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, and your self-evaluation. I should bring a stapler here.
Oh, from.
Let's get her. Let's see. What happens when she steps back? Back further? No, further forward.
More forward.
Forward, more forward. Forward, more. Let's try her. Okay. We want to get our hands in there. So, yeah. Your hands. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. That's better. Yeah. Perfect. She's a photographer. Okay. Okay. Tiffany's managing attention. He's writing. She's writing. Communicating respect. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, I'm Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
So, calling a movie boring and unoriginal versus calling it classic and timeless is basically just two sides of the same coin. The movie Wreck-It Ralph, whose message of being yourself, which I found to be very classic and timeless, others would argue was very boring and predictable. In this movie, Wreck-It Ralph is basically just the bad guy in his video game, and he goes on this journey to prove that he can change and he can be a good guy. And as the critic Simon Crook argues, after all the manic invention and technical dazzle, the film retreats to formula and safety. Disney has been using the be yourself message ever since Dumbo. While I would agree that yes, it is widely used and it can be a little cliche, I think it is widely used because it works. It's so universal and it's so broad, and that's why this movie can be significant to us. And that's why everybody can take something from this movie. And what I took from this movie is that it made me jealous, it made me desperate, and it made me inspired. And so the first way that this film moved me was that it made me feel jealousy. When Wreck-It Ralph is sitting in his dump, he watches the mayor and the citizens in his video game throw parties for Fix-It Felix. And he bitterly envies all the praise and the love that Fix-It Felix gets. And this reminds me of my family dynamic. My two sisters are really close to my mom. They have a lot in common. I feel like they get a lot of her praise and physical affection and gifts. And while, of course, my mom loves me equally and just the same, we definitely don't connect on that level, just because we are so different and we get into arguments a lot. So I find myself kind of bitterly envying my sisters and wishing I could be invited to the party as well. The second way that this film moved me was that it made me feel desperate. Wreck-It Ralph, in the middle of the movie, decides to leave his game completely to try to earn a medal, to bring back, to prove himself to the mayor and the citizens. This reminded me of the way I used to view success, especially in high school. I was so desperate for these physical manifestations of my hard work and my success, whether that was in medals or awards or grades or certificates. And that was all I chased after for 4 years. And like Ralph, I realized that it's not these physical tokens of success that make up our worth, it's just the positive influences we have on other people. And lastly, this movie moved me by making me feel inspired. So Wreck-It Ralph was really brave and really optimistic to literally go against his programming to try to be a different and better person. This reminds me of my counseling with my anxiety. When I first went into counseling, the first thing my counselor pointed out was that I was very accepting of my anxiety. I was trying to live and cope with it instead of trying to fix it or trying to make it go away. It wasn't until I realized that I could change and it was possible for me to live without anxiety that I started to change. And so watching this transition that Wreck-It Ralph had of literally being the bad guy to coming back and being the good guy reminded me of that same inspiration that I felt when it finally clicked that I could be a different person if I wanted to. And so in summary, I've told you about how this movie reminded me of my family life, how I used to define success, and also my counseling and my anxiety. And in conclusion, I feel like it's the broadness of this message, and I guess you could say the clichéness and the universality of this message that allowed me to feel that jealousy, and allowed me to feel that desperation, and allowed me to feel that inspiration, even though I am nowhere near a 9-foot, 600-pound Wreck-It Ralph in a video game. And while critics like Simon Crook would argue that it was way too predictable, way too boring, and way too unoriginal, I would argue if something isn't broken, there is no need to fix it. So it has worked in the past, and I think people should continue to use the Be Yourself message because it touches a lot of people the way it touched me.
Thank you. 436 here.
Hi, I'm Rachel Leah.
Hi, Rachel Leah.
I thought you did a really, really nice job. One of my favorite things that you did was that you changed your positioning. Each time you told a different story, but once you got there, you stayed there really well. And then I also really liked the tie back from the quote to the beginning to the end. And I liked how you played the whole, it's not broke, don't fix it. I think it makes it really relatable, and you did a really great job.
Thank you, Rachel. Yeah. Improvement.
Hi, Eunice. Hi, Eunice.
What's your name?
Eunice?
Hi, Eunice.
Hi. Well, just one thing, I guess, like in the middle, you just kind of bursted out laughing, but I mean, it really showed your personality, and it's good. But I guess just like, it might have distracted the audience, so next time you can just, yeah.
Okay. Went 4:36, so you had about 45 seconds left, so you could have expanded on some of your stories. I liked your film choice, Tiffany. I think you chose well. A little apologetic for doing a child, so-called child film, but I don't think you had to be. Started with the, you got into the review of it really early in your introduction, and that was fine. On your first story, I was taken by this about your jealousy that you feel toward your two siblings. You feel that your mother loves them more, and that can hurt. I used that metaphor in class for wanting to look equally to around the room as if your audience is all your children, because people will notice when you don't look around and they'll think, what am I, chopped liver? And it does hurt when you're not part of the in crowd. So I felt that emotion from you of jealousy, so that was good. On the second emotion, I would have liked you to have returned to the emotion that you're trying to communicate at the end of the segment, grades and certificates and this sort of thing, substitutes for something else. On the third story you told, where you had the courage to tell us that you'd gone into counseling to deal with your anxiety and feelings of inferiority and so forth and panic. I thought that took real courage to tell that story, so I admired you for doing that. And I would have liked to have a little bit more details of some of the stuff that you had worked out, since you did have time. Your summary was fine, your conclusion was fine, and so was your tie back. Your speech goals were to have better road mapping, to better conclude and tie back the introduction and move around the rooms. You're swaying, you see how you're swaying right now, yeah. So how did it go?
I think I could have road mapped maybe a little bit better. I think I mentioned a 3, but I kind of just left it at that.
Right.
I think my time was good. I put a lot of effort into it, and yes, I think I tried to match it up. And compared to last week or the first speech, when I didn't move with any of my points,
right.
I think I did better trying to.
Yeah, and didn't it feel better? Didn't it relax your body to move around and get some of the tension out of the limbs and so forth? Yeah, so that went well. Yeah, I like the way you quoted your critic, and you've given me your self-evaluation from YouTube, so good. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to Patricia. And on deck will be Brianda. Hi, how you doing? Managing attention, communicating respect, finding friendly eyes near the front center. Say your name, feel the love. Very sweet.
Hi, I'm Trish.
Hi, Trish.
Hi, Trish.
Just make it great were the words that Steve Jobs said to his first studio animator in regards to a pitch about a short film. Little did he know that this small company that was built in 1986 would turn into one of the biggest animation studios that would make movies such as Frozen, Toy Story, and even Finding Nemo. It would turn the structure of Disney from love and wishful thinking into much more relatable characters such as toys and sea creatures that would talk about relatable aspects of our life, like our childhood. My favorite of these stories is Finding Nemo. Critic Leslie Feldbrand states that Finding Nemo is unlike its counterpart, Toy Story, because it is very obvious in the way that it states childhood lessons. However, while I do agree that these lessons that are in Finding Nemo are very obvious, I disagree in the way that she said that it was too obvious. I believe that it is in the obvious that we are able to learn from our mistakes. And Finding Nemo has moved me in 3 different ways. It has allowed me to feel frustrated, to feel bold, and to feel appreciative. And so first, Finding Nemo has allowed me to feel frustrated when in the movie when Marlin is off to take Nemo to his first day of school, and Marlin is very scared of letting Nemo go off to school, teaching him about the drills, about how to take care of himself. And I felt frustrated because this reminded me of my dad. I was reminded of my dad because although he's been throughout the world and he's lived in a third world country, his biggest fear was letting his first and only daughter go off to school in a different country. Growing up, I wasn't allowed to answer the phone when no one was home. I wasn't allowed to open the door. I couldn't do gymnastics because my parents were afraid that I would get hurt. And the only friends that I had made were the ones in my elementary school. This made me frustrated because I felt like my parents weren't allowing me to explore what was out there. I felt like they were keeping me trapped in my house and that I was always bored and forced to relieve my boredom by myself. The second thing that this movie made me feel was that it made me feel bold. In the part of the movie when Nemo goes off to touch the butt, he feels like he has something to prove. And he touches the butt of the boat, and he is really happy that he did it, and then he gets captured by a diver. This part of the movie made me feel bold because it reminded me of when I was younger and I would rebel against my parents' wishes. Of course, I went to a Catholic school and I didn't want to upset my parents too much, so these would come in the form of little victories, such as staying out with my friends till 12 p.m., or hanging out at the mall with a boy when I told my parents I was with friends, or even procrastinating on homework. Through these small actions, I felt bold because I was resisting what my parents said and exploring the world. But what I had failed to realize is that if I had only listened to them, I could have learned these lessons without making all the mistakes that I made. The third thing that I learned, and that I felt, is I felt appreciative. I felt appreciative in the part of the movie when Nemo finds his dad through the help of Dory, another fish, and Dory gets caught in the midst of all of this by a net. Nemo tells his dad that he can help Dory get out, and that Marlin, Nemo's dad, just has to trust him that he knows what he's doing. This reminded me of my mom when I went off to college. My mom is very overprotective, and she had a hard time letting go. And so, during my first year of college, we would bicker a lot. We didn't get along, but finally, she just had to relent and learn that she had equipped me with everything that she could and trust that I knew how to take care of myself while I was here and that she had instilled all these values in me. And this made me feel appreciative because it reminded me that my mom was the one who taught me, my parents were the ones who taught me all these qualities, and that circumstances come in full circle, and that just like Marlin was trying to teach Nemo how to take care of himself, my parents were trying to teach me how to take care of myself when I went off into the real world. In summary, I felt 3 things from Finding Nemo. I have felt bold, I have felt frustrated, and I have felt appreciative. Just like Nemo was a naive little goldfish, I too felt naive, and I felt like I had a lot to prove and a lot to learn, and believe me, I did. Just as Leslie Feldbrand stated, she said that Nemo was outright obvious in the way that it showed that its childhood lessons. But I believe that for lessons to be able to stick to us, they have to be the ones that are dramatic, the ones that teach us something worth remembering. And so, Finding Nemo is rich because it provides us with laughs, vivid scenery, and emphasizes the relationship that we all had with our parents growing up. Just like Steve Jobs had a vision for his company, so too do our parents have a vision for us. And that vision is to go out into the world and to do great. But they can only do so much. So then they must hand us the torch and say, just make it great.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Angelica.
Hi, Angelica.
I really liked your delivery. You're very energetic and peppy, and your voice just had so much energy that it really drew the audience in. And then I liked how you moved around and made eye contact with them.
Improvement?
Hi, I'm Monica.
Hi, Malika.
I really liked your speech. I liked your tie back a lot. But I think that sometimes you pause within your sentences a bit, and I don't know if you're just trying to recollect the details. We all do it, but just watch that a bit. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, Trish, I wasn't sure whether you were over memorizing and not doing it extemporaneously or what was happening, or you're just trying to recall the speech, but you did a nice job. You started with Steve Jobs, an allusion to the first video that the whole group saw. I liked that. And you went on to talk about Toy Story and to make it great and to have a very nice transition into your Finding Nemo, so that was excellent. Your preview was good, frustrated, bold, and appreciative. You talked about your first story about your father being overly protective and your frustration of being overly protected by him. I would just ask you to return to that emotion and use that word at the end of your story and say, that's why I felt so frustrated. On your second emotion, on bold, I thought your examples of being bold, of staying out till midnight, wow, and and going to the mall with a boy, and procrastinating on your homework, yeah, those were all, I understand, in the context of your family, that these were examples of you asserting your individuality, so that was fine. On the third emotion of appreciative, you talked about your bad relationship with your mother as you went away to college and how you put a bickering, and then I guess she had a hard time letting go, and then what I didn't get was where the appreciativeness came in. Did she come to appreciate and trust that you were going to be okay or something? I guess that's what I was missing in the appreciativeness emotion there. The summary, the conclusion, and tie back were all good. You were within time, and you did your review fine. So you did a nice job. Thank you.
Brenda's not here to teach her family emergency this morning.
What?
She's going to come talk to you about it.
Okay, that's a big 0. Who is it?
Brianna.
Who didn't show up?
Brianda.
Brianda. Where is she on here?
She's the next I thought you said.
Patricia. Brianda. Okay. A big 0. Okay.
I think you missed the same.
Patricia. Is Patricia here?
I just went.
Yeah. Yeah, Patricia. Okay, so now we have Tiffany. The other Tiffany. There's not another Tiffany? Breakfast with Tiffany, okay. Eunice. Do you have your review? Okay. Okay, she's writing. Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Eunice, and
Hi, Eunice.
So, Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, Little Mermaid. I'm sure you guys have all had your fair share of Disney princess movies who present damsels in distress. Sure, there was Mulan, there was Brave, but for some reason, these movies never seem to pinpoint that mark. The true insight into a woman's battle, not just against the rest of society, but herself. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a film, Frozen, which moved me in 3 ways. It made me sad, it made me proud, and it even angered me. This film deals with a significant theme that I know you guys will be interested in. According to Lily Rothman of the Time magazine, the message is about being yourself, even if your family doesn't know. I couldn't agree with her more. The first way this film moved me is that it made me feel sad. The incident in the movie that made me feel sad is in the beginning of the movie when the 2 sisters, Elsa and Anna, are playing in the snow that Elsa created. Quick note here, Elsa is a cryokinetic princess who can control ice and snow. So what happens is that they're playing the snow that Elsa created, and Anna, being the 5-year-old, the active, the curious little girl that she is, kind of edges Elsa to create the snow quickly, and Elsa loses that control and accidentally shoots her sister in the heart with ice. This causes Anna to be temporarily endangered as her heart is frozen. This scene made me sad because it reminded me of a time when I was 7 years old. My mom set my baby sister, who was 6 months old at the time, on the bed and told me to watch her. And I did watch her for 3 minutes before I got distracted by the TV. So as my eyes were glued to the TV screen, I suddenly hear a thud, and then there's wailing, there's bawling, there's crying. I look over and it turns out my sister dived headfirst to the ground off the bed. And when I saw this, looking back now, I can laugh a little about it, even though I can't say the same for my sister. But at that moment, it was as if my heart stopped. It wasn't because I was scared of being in trouble. It was more so because I felt so bad that I had hurt my baby sister. And I could relate to Elsa in that moment, I had endangered the life of my sister, my baby sister. So that was my first story. The second way the film moved me is that it made me feel so proud. Near the middle of the movie, Elsa finally is able to realize that she needs to be true to herself. So, as the famous song lyrics go, let it go, she lets herself go. She's able to gain the courage and confidence to let down that perfect girl image, to let down that weight. This made me feel so proud because it made me relate to my high school experiences. Throughout my high school experience, I was one of those girls, the student who brings home good grades, president of this club, vice president of another, the girl who's always doing everyone favors. And yeah, sure, I enjoyed it. But at some point, I came to realize that I wasn't being myself. What happened is that in trying to appease others, I wasn't appeasing myself. I wasn't allowing myself to shine through. And when it came time for college, I came to realize this. I came to realize that I need to let it go because the truth of the matter is that I'm only human. I'm not perfect. I can't always be perfect. I can try, but it's never going to happen. So, like Elsa, I decided to let things go, and seeing her do that made me just feel so proud, so relieved, so happy for her. And the third way this film moved me is that it angered me. The reason it angered me is that near the end of the movie, Elsa is being attacked by the soldiers. They're not giving her a chance to explain why she ran away after losing control of her power. They just accuse her. They make her feel provoked. And what happened with me is that the summer before 5th grade, I was involved in a car accident. I was hit by a car while riding my scooter. And a couple of weeks after this accident, I was in a meeting with my injury lawyer and 2 insurance company representatives. And this meeting lasted 3 hours. I was 10 years old, and they drilled me constantly for 3 hours, trying to get the answer out of me, trying to get the answer they wanted out of me. So during this time, I really froze. It upset me. I felt provoked. I didn't know what to say. And so afterward, my lawyer actually advised me, let's not take this to trial because I think you'll end up more hurt, and that hurt isn't going to be satisfactory compared to the charges that are going to come against you. And my father actually ended up paying all of the expenses. So this helped me relate to Elsa's experience as she's being provoked in that situation, that feeling of helplessness. So these are the 3 ways the film moved me. It made me sad, it made me proud, and it angered me. So no doubt in this room, you guys can tell this film really moved me. This movie achieved something that most Disney princess movies cannot achieve. It eliminated the idea that there are perfect heroines out there living perfect ideal lives. It helped us realize that you don't have to be strong, you don't have to be physically able, you don't have to save a city in order to be considered independent and courageous. In the end, you just have to be true to yourself. Thank you.
Okay, 606.
Me? Hi, I'm Tess.
Hi, Tess.
I think you developed all of your points really well. Like, you really explained the movie part and your story really well. And I think in the beginning you also gave us a really good roadmap to what you were going to say.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Blake.
Hi, Blake.
I think that you did a good job. Just like maybe like keep your stories like all the same length because I think one was like longer than the other, and that probably over.
Yeah, your plot summaries were too long. We didn't need a lot of the plot summaries, and that made you overtime. And your setup was a little long. Eunice, I like the intro that you sort of was very thoughtful about what these Disney and so forth movies do and do not do for expressing insights into the human condition and how Frozen really got to a new level for you. And so that was good. I like that very much. On your story about your first story about letting your sister off the bed and go kaplunk, what we didn't find out is if she shattered her head, if she bled, if she was okay, or if she just kind of fell on her side or whatever. But that was a good story, and you expressed your remorse at that, so that was good. Your second emotion on feeling proud, you expressed a sort of a double-edged sword to being proud, good grades and president of clubs, and yet you felt that you were a phony, you weren't being yourself, and so forth. So that was an interesting expression of an emotion. On angry, what I didn't get from this, I got the story of these horrible lawyers drilling you and your father and your hapless lawyer letting them. What I didn't get was your anger toward the lawyers or your anger of your father having to pay for all that. I think that was your anger, right? At least that's what I inferred. But you didn't really say it or bring it out. We had to infer it, and we don't want to infer it. You want to express it. So I was really angry. A little kid, I got in an accident, and my dad had to pay ambulances and everything. See? Your summary, conclusion, tie back were all fine. You wanted to be confident, extemporaneous, and have vocal variety. How did it go besides being overtime?
Well, confidence-wise, that's something I could work on. I guess when I come up here, my voice gets kind of shaky, and I'm kind of like shaking, and I'm nervous.
Yeah.
So that's something that I need to work on, because I know you said to fake the confidence until you have it.
Yeah.
So I really need to I think when I get up here, I need to just come up and relax, take a deep breath, and let it out before I begin. So that's something I need to do. Extemporaneous-wise, I feel that it went a little more smooth than the first time around. The first time, I know I completely halted and didn't know what to say. It happened a couple times this time as well, but I feel like I was able to get over it a little better, and I feel that I can progressively do so in the other speeches. And vocal variety, that's something I still need to work on when telling stories, I guess, to engage. But overall, I think I improved more from the first speech, and I hope to do so.
Okay, the thing about time too is if you set marks of, okay, by the third point I want to be at 4 minutes and things like that, so you have, I want to be summarizing by the time I get to 4, then you'll be in better shape. Okay, thank you. Okay, who did I say was next? I didn't. Okay, that brings us to Harsh. Harsh Patel. Oh, lucky guy. That brings us to Thomas. And on deck will be Ananya. She dropped the class.
This is the
Good. Okay.
Hi everybody, I'm Thomas.
Hi Thomas.
I'd like to begin today by asking everyone to think of the manliest movie that they've ever heard of or that they know. For me, when I did this, I thought of movies like Die Hard, or movies like The Terminator or Iron Man. While I really like these movies that are very action-oriented with guts and gore, I wouldn't say that any of them particularly moved me. In fact, I think that sappy, girly films are much more effective at moving people, guys included, if you give it the chance, because they're especially emotional. Today I'd like to share with you a film that really moved me, and that film was Katy Perry, Part of Me. Go ahead and laugh. But that film moved me, it made me feel excited, it made me sad, and it also inspired me. A.O. Scott from the New York Times said that Miss Perry's approach to pop stardom, evident in Part of Me, and the year-long tour that it chronicles, is friendly and inclusive as well as candidly professional. I couldn't agree more with this quote. I think that Perry's professionalism and her personality make the film very easy to connect to. The first way that the film moved me was that it made me feel excited. When she takes the stage for the opening of her tour, she's greeted by a gigantic crowd of screaming fans, and she says this is her childhood dream come true. This event made me feel excited because it reminded me of my first performance as an actor on stage. And it reminded me how excited I felt. Also nervous, but mostly excited to be able to have a connection with the audience. So I've always enjoyed acting and performing, but I think that at that moment I felt like I was beginning to live out my dreams as well. And to this day I still feel like acting is a part of my personality. The next way that the film moved me is that it made me feel sad. The incident in the film that made me feel sad was when you see how exhausted Perry is, both emotionally and physically, as her marriage breaks down and she loses someone that she loved. The reason this made me feel sad was that it reminded me of when I almost lost someone that I care about, and that was my cousin, Steven. He's 7 years old now, but when he was a baby, he had to have a lot of surgeries, and he still continues to have surgeries. But I remember one in particular, which was an exploratory open heart surgery that he had to have. I remember being huddled around the telephone with my family. We were all anxious and exhausted, waiting for the phone to ring to hear the news of how the operation went. I remember feeling lonely and feeling helpless. And my heart skipped a beat when the phone rang, and I could overhear on the phone that everything was all right and that he was going to be okay. And while I felt relieved, I still remember how scared I was and helpless I felt because we might actually lose him. The final way that the film moved me was that it made me feel inspired. The incident in the film that made me feel inspired was when Perry shares all of the struggles she went through before she achieved success. She was dropped by 3 record labels, she was told that she wouldn't become successful, and she had a lot of feelings of self-doubt as a result of this, but she still chose to pursue her dreams, and today she's one of the most successful in the pop music industry. I feel like this incident inspired me because it reminded me of when I first came to college and how I had feelings of self-doubt about my abilities. I think that when I first came to college, I was overwhelmed by being in a new environment and having to make new friends. And I didn't like being in classes with so many other bright students. I feel that focusing on my own goals served me well, and I created a path for myself where I was able to make new friends and get great grades, and I was able to adjust to this new environment. In summary, I've showed you 3 ways that the film Katy Perry, Part of Me really moved me. It made me feel excited, it made me sad, but it also inspired me. In conclusion, there should be no doubt in this room that the film really moved me. While it's certainly not the manliest of films, it's filled with kittens and rainbows and cotton candy. It's quite the opposite. I'm still not embarrassed to say that it moved me in surprising ways. Thank you.
Okay. Come on over here.
Hi, I'm Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
I thought your delivery was really good overall. You moved 3 times, which was good, and you seemed to know your speech really well, and you were very fluid in it, so it was all overall just really well done.
Yeah. Improvement.
Hi, I'm Anne.
Hi, Anne.
This is gonna be hard. I think you did really well, and the emotional connection was there. I guess you did move, and I really like that. I feel like towards the end, I feel like we got a lot of attention.
Yeah.
The other side may have been a little neglected, but it was really good.
He focused mostly over here in the last third of your speech, and so they were really neglected. But other than that, let's start at the top, Thomas, and give you some feedback. You started with an apology. You mentioned manly films like The Terminator and Die Hard and The Iron Man, and then pointed out that sappy, girly films are really more moving, and as you put it, and then you dropped in that it was Katy Perry, Part of Me, that you were going to share, and that got kind of a giggle or something out of your audience, so that was fine. Excited, sad, and inspired. Your quote that you worked in from the New York Times and agreed with was well done. On your first emotion that you were trying to communicate, it was excited, and you likened it to when you were on stage as an actor and how excited that was. My one suggestion is just a little bit more detail: what, when, where, why, how, when, where I was at Riverside High School, and I was the music man. On the second emotion, sad, the marriage breakup, you mentioned the sadness, and you really did your best job in communicating your fear about your cousin Stephen, and I could see the family huddled around the phone. That was really great storytelling, and you did that very well. Remember to come back to the emotion at the end, and that's why we felt sad. And then on the third one, on inspired, it's always nice when you meet these people in these other businesses that said you'll never amount to anything, and she's the biggest star in the world. Your story, I guess, it was a little bit vague and obtuse about you felt that you were a little fish in a big pond here at UCLA, and they're very talented people here now. And that's true. The GPA and everything else. This is a highly selective university now, and so it's not going to be easy. But that's kind of what makes it neat, Your summary, your conclusion, and tieback were all good. You want to incorporate more hand gestures, more humor, and relax. How'd it go?
I think it went pretty well, especially compared to my first speech, where I didn't really use hand gestures or move around.
Yeah, I think it went well. And you got your bibliography and your self-evaluation, so you did a good job. Thank you. Who did I say was next? You're next? Where are you? Next page? Who are you? Tiffany?
No, right here,
Ananya. Don't call me Ayanya. Okay, Ananya. Hi, how you doing?
Doing good.
Ready to do it?
Hi everyone, my name is Anne.
Hi, Anne.
So this past summer we saw a dystopian movie, and the one I want to talk to you guys about is called Snowpiercer. It's set in 2031, and the world is frozen due to a failed scientist experiment to stop global warming. Humanity's last survivors are stuck together in this train called Snowpiercer that circles the globe and has its own class system where the have-not struggles in wretched existence in the back of the train, while the haves live in pure decadence in the front. Stephanie Sackford called the Snowpiercer arid, lusterless in its more serious moments, and unpleasantly kitschy when it tries to soar at the top. I cannot disagree more. This movie has moved me in ways that other movies this genre couldn't. It made me feel disgusted. It made me feel despair. And yet, at the end of this 2-hour-long journey of gruesome brutality and massacre, it still made me hope. In a time where we live where the gap between the rich and the poor is getting wider and wider, and social good is often sometimes sacrificed for profits, I think this movie has very clear parallels to our world and very profound messages. So this movie made me feel disgusted. And there's a lot of horrific things that happen in Snowpiercer, but the first incident that really stood out to me was when Curtis, who is the leader of the tail section trying to change the status quo, got to the front of the car. And as we move forward, it just became clear how well the front has been living while the back has just been subsisting. So for the past 17 years, the back has just been living in these dirty, cramped, tight spaces, eating these protein blocks that is made of something you really don't want to eat. While as you got in front, there's swimming pools, there's sauna, there's even an aquarium with a sushi bar. Just imagine the world is almost all gone and dead, and you can still have sushi, while the rest is just eating these plot kills thing. And at that point, I just feel so disgusted. There's a pit in my stomach, and I just wondered, is humanity even worth saving? It reminded me of, and I'm sure a lot of people in here has felt that way when they watch the news. There's a lot of tragedies in the world. Kids being beheaded by ISIS, dictatorship in North Korea, all the reason why the Occupy Wall Street movement got started. It all just disgusted me. The second way this film moved me was that it made me feel despair. So after suffering tragic losses, Curtis finally got to the front of the train to confront Wilford, who's the creator of the train's engine and its hierarchy. Only for Wilford to explain to him that the entire revolution has been orchestrated as a means of population control.
everything just felt like hopeless by then. Like the glass just broke under your feet. Because what was he fighting all this time for? What's all the killing for? And I guess at that time when I saw the movie, I was in a fight with my mom. Words were exchanged, and it was over something really trivial, but in the end we ended up not talking for 3 days. That day I called her to ask for her forgiveness. But in the end, the damage was done. I went to the movie feeling afraid and wondering if maybe we would never reconcile. So this movie just, as I sat there watching it, it just made me realize, and it shocked me how easy it is for humans to forget their simple kindness and how easy it is for us to hurt each other when that happens. The third reason why this movie moved me was that it made me hope. The train exploded and derailed, and practically everyone died, except for 2 passengers. They got out of the train, the wreckage, and they saw a polar bear outside in the distance, which signals that there's still life outside in this supposedly uninhabitable Earth. And it just made me feel so hopeful, because after everything, it didn't remind me of one single memory, but rather just the fact that every day brings a new beginning and new possibilities. News may bring tragedies, but there are still stories about people around the world who's trying to affect change. My mom and I eventually did make up. I'm really happy about that. And so, in summary, Snowpiercer has moved, I told you Snowpiercer has moved me in 3 different ways. It disgusted me, it made me feel despair, and it also made me hope. While Zachary might call it arid and lusterless, I cannot agree with that at all. I love Snowpiercer without a smile on my face, and I'm okay with that. It reminded me of all the ugly things humans can do to each other, but at the same time, it also reminded me the resilience of human nature, spirit, and how the importance of human compassion, and that you can still hope for a new day, a new beginning.
Thank you. 5:38. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
I thought a lot of your points were really insightful, and especially when we were talking about community and compassion. I thought it was interesting. I liked your hand gestures on helping flow with your speech very well, and I think you also had a good pace and you didn't rush through anything. So.
Movement.
Hi, I'm Angela.
Hi, Angela.
I like your speech, and then I like that you actually related to not only the personal experience, but also more of a general, like poverty and war, and yeah, about the disgusted emotion that you discussed during the speech. And then for the improvement, I think you could make it more vocal, and then make some changes in tone, and then it's gonna improve your speech.
Okay, those are good suggestions. Thank you. So you want to go by Anne and not Anaya or whatever it is? Anne, is that what you want to be called? Okay. Yeah, you chose to do a film, a propaganda piece, Snowpiercer, right? And you had a quote that you disagreed with, and that was fine. And you told us how the movie made you feel, and you talked about the gap between the rich and the poor as your significant statement, so that was all fine. You talked about disgusted, and I think where you could have shortened this down a little bit was in your plot summary, just compressed that down a little bit. But and I like your part about children being beheaded by ISIS and the poverty in North Korea, and the current examples that you gave. Those were excellent. And you return to your emotion, which is why you feel pretty disgusted about the world, not just the world of the movie, but the real world. On the second way the film moved you was despair, again, kind of a long plot summary, but then you told us of a fight with your mother and she didn't forgive you, and then your message was that you felt bad about this, and you finally, I guess in your third story, you talked about making up with her, so that was good. The summary, conclusion, and tieback were all fine. You said, similar to what people had said for you to work on, you wanted to have more vocal variety, to move 3 times around the room, and to have faster pacing. How'd it go?
I know vocal variety, I still need to add some more impact and punch.
Yeah.
I feel like at least it was better than last time where the second story I was hoping to put in more, like, point out the ludicrousness of it all, people living like that, and then they could have this luxury.
Yes.
But definitely I feel like I should work on that more. And I turned it around 3 times. I didn't actually move. So
Yeah. So if you practice moving when you're practicing your speech at home with a study buddy, the movement here will be more natural. You're not going to just move automatically when you come to class. So incorporate it into your practice at home. Okay. You did a nice job. Thank you. Can you flick on the one light? I want to see if that improves. Yeah, flick down and see if that makes our. We have one more. Joshua. See here? No Joshua. Is he in the class?
I'm here, but I got confused about the A, B, C. I apologize.
What do you mean confused?
When you said group A, I thought when you released the YouTube videos, it said like group speech is A, and when you released it on YouTube, I thought that's what you meant by the groups, and I realized it's on the syllabus that I don't have. And I know it's an excuse, but that's what I thought.
Okay, well, whatever. Okay, I guess we'll do. Anybody burning to do their introductory speech? Okay, good. Let's do it. We'll just let the camera roll so we don't have to create a new YouTube.
Is it gonna die?
Oh.
It's at an hour. But the battery's only half gone.
Half gone, yeah. Good point. Yeah. We get an hour and 10 minutes is what we get, so I think we'll get through. Who's your study buddy?
I thought we were supposed to stay to the end.
No, they come up. We get to eyeball them as you're talking.
He's right over there.
Oh.
It's joking.
Do you have your outline?
I mean, I have it, but it's in my laptop. What do you want to write on it?
Yeah, you have to choose someone else. He doesn't have his outline.
Okay, that's fine.
So I'll have a seat. And that's why I said have your outlines ready and be ready to speak when I call on you. Anybody else prepared today?
Maybe like pairs prepared today?
Pairs prepared today, yeah. Thank you for being prepared. Is there anybody else that claims they don't understand my lettering system? Does everyone understand it? You need a copy of the syllabus?
Yes.
Okay, come and get it. There you go. Merry Christmas.
I apologize.
Whatever.
Professor?
Yeah.
So you know how today the lettering system is like A, and then you're going to go B, C, D?
Yeah.
So then, like, let's say hypothetically when it starts at C, do you go C, D, A, B?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I rotate it so no one goes first every time.
No, but I mean like for the next letter.
Yeah,
I
look
guess.
at it on the thing. It's rotated.
No, I mean like okay, so like when C starts first,
Yeah.
like they're on the next speech, and then
Yeah.
after you get through all the C people, do you go to all the D people next? Or
Yeah,
all the
look
B
at it
people?
on the list. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So Syllabus doesn't have people who added after the first meeting.
Oh, someone doesn't have a letter, yeah, or a number. Is that someone doesn't have a letter?
Yeah.
Who's that? I have somebody that I have added here. Wait a minute, where is this? That's right. Wait a minute. Okay, let's get all this busy work out of the way. You don't have a letter?
Yeah, I do.
I assigned somebody a D already and an A. That's you?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Delmas, D-E-L-M-A-S.
D-E-L-M-A-S, first name?
Pauline.
Pauline, and you're a D. And I assigned somebody else an A. Who is that?
But I wasn't. I can go. I just wasn't.
Yeah, perfect. What's your first name?
Rachel Leah.
What's your last name?
Fishman.
What?
Fishman. Fish.
Fish and then man.
Yeah.
See, everyone got it. Rachel. She's an A. And then who else?
So I need one. Staff. S-T-A-F-F is my last name.
Staff. S-T-A-F-F. First name?
Isabel.
What?
Isabel.
Isabel. Okay, you'll be a B. And then
Last name Pan, P-A-N. First name Angelica.
Pan Angelica. You'll be a C.
I don't have one.
How did this happen? Okay, yeah.
Angela.
Last name?
Kim.
Kim.
Yeah, and my middle name's Y-E-J-I.
Yeah, I don't need that. What's
Okay.
your first name?
Angela.
Angela?
Yes.
Okay, I can't make you an A even though that's where we are in the alphabet, so I'll make you a B. How's that? You're a B. What's our time looking like? Anybody, any other group of, are you ready to go?
I mean, would you like me to go? I wasn't quite sure, but I did prepare in case I had to.
Praise the Lord.
Should we restart this?
No, you stopped it?
No, but it's 1 hour and 7 minutes.
Oh, ooh. Yeah, we have a lot of juice left, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just be aware of when you're watching YouTube tonight, there's a little gap.
Okay. Oh, let me get you mine.
Our battery is working out better for some reason.
And then this is
The YouTube.
the article is super long. Do you want the whole thing?
Just the first page.
Okay.
But,
That was the. And then here's the first page.
Oh yeah. Ah, you got a real heavy one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love these. Oh boy, was this pretty thick? This article?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Okay. The lighting's better, isn't it, with that back light on, isn't it?
Probably a little bit.
Yeah. Her blue shows up better.
You like that?
Yeah, I do. Okay. She's writing, they're talking.
Sometimes the people that seem the most innocent and unintelligent are the people that actually understand things most of all. The movie I'm about to tell you about today is one of the only movies that has both made me laugh of crying and cry of laughter. Kind of sounds weird. So, one of my favorite parts of the movie is when someone asks the protagonist, "Have you ever been with a girl?" He means in a sexual way. And the protagonist responds,
Of course I have. I sit next to them in my home economics class all the time, not really understanding it. So this movie, the movie that really moved me, is Forrest Gump. It is the only movie that has made me cry with him with his friendships, feel empathy for him when he's bullied, and really contemplate life with him as he thinks about life and death. The three significant themes in this movie that I'm also going to discuss are about true friendship, those bullies that I felt really bad with him for, and also, like I said, a box of chocolates. So, as I read this article about a critique of Forrest Gump, they talked about how he was oblivious to social hierarchies and to cultural awareness, but he actually held true to the values and ideals he had as a child. And I partially agree with this quote. Although I agree with the fact that he holds true to all of his ideals he has as a child, sometimes he says the wrong thing and it comes off as wrong, I think that he understands life more than anyone else. I think he understands these hierarchies and these social critiques that were going on during the time of the movie, and he just chooses to ignore them. So I'm going to tell you about these three different stories that made me feel upset, made me feel sympathy for him, and made me contemplate life with him. So the first story, Forrest Gump is carrying his best friend through the forest. It's the Vietnam War. His best friend just got shot, and he's dying. And as he's holding him in his arms, his best friend in his arms, his friend looks at him in the eyes, and he says, "I just want to go home." And he looks back at his friend, and he starts crying with him. And this really hit home to me because it showed what true friendship they had. Even though they were different races, and Forrest may or may not have been aware of that, they had a true and genuine friendship. And this reminds me of the genuine friendships I had as a kid, these values I learned when I was a child. When we braided each other's hair, or I even peed on my friend's shoes once because I tried them on and I really wanted to see what they looked like on me, and she forgave me because that was what true friendship was. And when I left that same friend for college, I'm from Boston, we both cried, and all I could think about was going home, just like Forrest thought about with his friend. The second story I'm going to tell you about is sympathy. Forrest is running away from some bullies, and a girl yells at Forrest, it's one of the most famous quotes in the movie, "Run, Forrest, run." And he runs away, and he makes it away from these bullies, and I get goosebumps everywhere in my body because I'm just so excited that Forrest got away. I felt so bad for him for being bullied. I was so excited for him when he got away. And this actually relates back to a time in my life when I was a child. I was in elementary school, to be exact, and my brother was being bullied at an elementary school dance. A girl didn't want to dance with him, and so he ran into the boys' bathroom crying. And so I ran after my brother, and I gave him that little pep talk, like, "You deserve better," like, "Go get him, Tiger," like, "You got this." And my brother actually ran back out and started dancing with some girls. Now, we actually both got kicked out of that elementary school dance because I was caught in the boys' bathroom, and my brother was caught dancing with a girl, let alone we're in 5th grade. And so these feelings of empathy and these feelings of me being really excited for my brother finally dancing really connected back to Forrest Gump. So the third story I'm going to tell you about is a contemplation of life. One of the most famous quotes from the movie is, "Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get." Now, Forrest Gump, at one point in the movie, is standing over his wife's grave. And his mother had told him this countless times earlier in the movie, but this is the first time that he actually realized what those words meant to him. And he contemplates what our destiny is, what death means. And he starts to cry, because I think he realizes that there's an end. And he starts to think about what life really is. And this relates back to me, because I distinctly remember that first time that I realized what death was. I was sitting there eating a bowl of ice cream, and my brother looked at me and said, "You know, if you eat enough ice cream, you're going to clog your arteries, and you're going to die." And I sat there just as Forrest Gump was at that grave, and both of us, my brother and I, my brother's laughing at me, I start crying my eyes out, and no one understands it. And what really struck me about this experience was Forrest Gump, I don't think, was unaware of what was going on. I think this was just the first time that he was able to show emotion about it. And overall, this movie made me feel those very three distinct feelings: deep sorrow, empathy for him when he's running away from bullies, but being really excited when he gets away, and a contemplation of life. And it makes me relate back to that quote, that I don't think Forrest Gump was ever unaware of what was going on. He just took his childhood values to heart, and he really stuck with him without his entire life. And also, that quote I said in the beginning about how Forrest Gump didn't really understand what it was like to be with a girl, I think he understood. I think he just chose to answer the way he wanted to. Perhaps it's just that simple. Perhaps he gets it just more than anyone else.
Thank you. 522. Somewhere here. Here.
Hi everyone, my name is Miriam.
Hi, Miriam.
And I really, really liked your speech. I just thought that you had great, what you were saying was not like monotone, it was just like, yeah, and you were super excited, and I felt excited when your brother went and danced with all those girls, so I don't know, I just really connected with you because you were very optimistic, and you seemed very like sure of yourself.
Very natural speaking.
Yeah.
Improvement.
Hi, I'm Karen.
Hi, Karen.
I thought that your speech was really good. I was very focused, and I just it was really easy to understand. But I would say maybe the emotions you picked were a little more complex, so I just had a little bit of trouble connecting the emotion to your story. But the stories I really enjoyed, especially the second one.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, they weren't exactly simple emotions, and so, but they still came through, I thought. Rachel, I liked your speech. I liked your opening. Have you ever been with a girl? Yeah, I sit next to one in economics class all the time. That was clever. On your introduction of the quote from the Cinema Journal, yeah, I think that you agreed with the quote, and that was fine. On the first story you told about, Bubba just saying, I just want to go home, I thought that was your best story in terms of conveying emotion, with peeing in your friend's shoes and braiding each other's hair, and just not hardly waiting to be able to go back to Boston, was it, and see your friend again, and I just want to go home. I would have returned to the expression in the end, and just I just want to go home and see Maggie or whatever her name is. But so that was pretty good. On your second story, Run Forrest Run and Running Away, you told the story of your brother being bullied and you going into the boys' bathroom and then getting in trouble. I didn't get what, I guess it was just a camaraderie kind of thing with your brother. I wasn't sure exactly, this is what I think she was talking about. I wasn't sure what the emotion was, although it was a good story. That you stuck up with your brother against the bully, I guess, and you didn't run away. I don't know, but you see what I'm saying? It was a little complex. On the last story, Life is Like a Box of Chocolates, and you're going to clog up your arteries by eating ice cream, yeah. Yeah, I think that people take those things seriously at a young age, and so that was pretty interesting. The summary, the conclusion, tie back. You went a few seconds over time, which was not a big problem here. Your closing was you were doing a lot of different things in your closing, so I think you just told you 3 ways the film moved me, ladies, Forrest Gump really moved me, and then tie back to your opening, I know a girl that I've sat next to, would have been a tighter way to end it. On your speech goal, you want to have a better roadmap, to have a better tie back, and to move 3 times. How'd it go?
I think it went pretty well. I think it went well. I think what was so complex for me was Forrest Gump's a really, really complex movie.
It is.
And nobody, not even these authors who are very, very intelligent, can quite understand it. And so For me, with my second story, I just tried to relate to the emotion itself.
Yeah.
So the idea of like feeling bad for someone, but then when they triumph, being excited for them, that's a connection I tried to make.
Yeah.
But I think I did a better job at road mapping, splitting up my story. This is the first, this is the second, this is the third.
Yeah.
And then, like what you said about the tie back, I think like I said, there are just so many complex ideas. I was trying to
pull them all together, and
exactly
it got kind of complicated.
Yeah.
And you wanted to, if you could have simplified that would have been better. But I agree with you. It's a very deceptively simple story on one level. The masses appreciated it. It was a very popular movie at the time. And people enjoyed it on one level, but then sociologists and other people started looking at this movie and said, "Wait a minute, there's something big going on here about this movie that's talking to people on many levels." So you did a nice job. Thank you. Okay, our work is done for the day. So is everyone clear now?